Chefs, you have arrived at the chopping block.
I'm your host and chopped enthusiast, Samantha Seneviratne.
I'm taking a risk using all 5 sauces, hoping that it brings spiciness into my dish.
And I'm here to make you unchoppable
You've been chopped.
by correcting common mistakes from chopped history. Let's see what today's lesson is, shall we? Check it out, we've got 2 hot dogs. One is super plain, and the other one is loaded up with all these delicious toppings and sauces. Look at this, it's got all these different flavors and textures all working together to create the perfect hot dog. This is the star. I think we have a clip for that.
You know, the cooking of the chop was, beautiful, but it needs a sauce.
Your flavors are there, but you created a dish that begged for some sauce. Therefore, you've been chopped.
Yeah, sauces are important, and that's a mistake contestants make time and time again. Did fans call that out too?
They sure did.
Wow. It's happened to all of us. We make a beautiful dish and then either drown it in too much sauce or cover it in a sauce that has no flavor. Sauce can really make or break a dish, just like seasoning. Too much and you can't go back, too little and your sauce will be bland, and the judges will let you know.
So I taste my sauce, and even though it was a giant ball of fire a second ago, it's still gonna be all right.
This dish is unbelievably creative, but the sauce burned, and it's given a very accurate taste to the wing.
A well-thought-out sauce can tie the flavors together while letting the star of the dish really shine through. Let's see what we're working with. We have some brown sugar, a beautiful bunch of fresh thyme, some dry cider, and some pork chops. So I have all my ingredients ready. I think I'm gonna make a really quick brine with the brown sugar and the cider to make some nice juicy pork chops, and then deglaze it and make a pan sauce with some garlic and more thyme and a lot of spices. Okay, I have all my ingredients here. I'm gonna get started on my brine. So to my small saucepan, I'm adding some water, kosher salt, some brown sugar, coriander, bay leaves, black peppercorns, allspice, and yellow mustard seed. Oh, and don't forget, fresh thyme. So that all goes into my pot. We're just gonna stir it, bring it up to a little simmer. So building a brine like this is the way to ensure that your pork chops are gonna be juicy and flavorful all the way through. That only took a minute or so, and I can see that my brown sugar and salt is completely dissolved. So I'm gonna turn off the heat and add a can of dry cider. It's really dry, it's just gonna add some sort of tart, appley notes to our brine. It's also nice and cold, so we don't want to add our pork chops to hot brine. That smells so good already. So I'm going to set this aside and let it cool to room temperature. So I have, oh, these are so beautiful. I have 4 beautiful bone-in center-cut loin chops. I love bone-in chops because they feel sort of hearty in a good way. This one looks really nice, and I actually want to keep a little bit of that fat because that's going to add flavor to our sauce, and it's going to make the whole thing juicy and flavorful. So these guys are going to go into this zip-top plastic bag. Pour it in carefully. Okay, so we're going to pop this in the fridge for 30 minutes to 4 hours. Any longer than 4 hours, and your meat might sort of change texture a little bit, and you don't want that. So cap it at 4 hours. I want to try to get rid of some of this excess moisture before I throw them in my skillet. Any excess moisture is going to inhibit browning. Let's get some olive oil in our skillet and pat these guys dry. Love that sound. So I'm just gonna do 2 at a time. I don't want to crowd my pan. That'll bring the temperature of my skillet down too fast. So we'll do 2 at a time. These are gonna go about 14 minutes total until they're cooked and brown on both sides, cooked all the way through about 145 degrees if you have an instant read thermometer. I'm not even gonna move these for a few minutes. I want them to get beautiful and brown before I even touch them. So making a sauce is basically our opportunity to balance all the flavors in our dish. So think about which meat you're cooking. I'm cooking pork chop, so I want to balance it with something bold and bright that can stand up to that pork. It's all about complementing the flavors and using the sauce to elevate your dish. So when pork chops have this beautiful fat cap here, I like to just hit the pan with that fat so that it gets a little bit of crispiness, and it's actually something you might want to eat. You can let those rest while we finish our sauce. So to this skillet, I'm gonna add some butter, some garlic, thyme, and a little bit of rosemary. My pork chops didn't render off a lot of fat, so I didn't have that much to pour off. If yours do, you can lose a little bit before you move on to the next step. I'm just gonna scrape up these brown bits. All those little brown bits are flavor that's gonna be added to your sauce. And to that, I'm adding some flour. So I'm gonna sprinkle it over the butter, sort of cook it out a little bit, and that's gonna thicken our sauce. So I have a little bit more cider that I can add. We'll add it a little bit at a time just to make sure we don't get any lumps. A little bit of low sodium chicken broth. Again, a little at a time until you have a sauce. You don't want it to get lumpy. You can see I'm sort of echoing some of the flavors that were in my brine and my sauce. I love pan sauces. They kind of seem magical in a way. Out of nothing comes this beautiful, beautiful, rich, flavored sauce. Really ties everything together. Now with the stove off, I'm gonna add my heavy cream. I don't want it to be too hot so that the cream doesn't break. Okay, and to that, a little bit more butter, because of course. Some cider vinegar, and that's basically gonna add a little bit of acidity to balance all that fat out. Some kosher salt, and some fresh parsley. That looks so good. I'm gonna give it a taste. That's perfect. It has acidity from the vinegar and the cider. It has sweetness from the herbs. It has a little bit of tang. It's really, really wonderful. It's gonna go so great on our pork. We wanna make sure we put the right amount of sauce on the plate. Too little, and everyone's gonna be sad they're not gonna have enough sauce for their whole pork chop. And too much, and you're not gonna get all the flavor from your juicy pork chop. So you want just enough. So here we are, a beautifully cooked, juicy pork chop and a lovely, balanced pan sauce to go with it.
The tarragon sauce was very unappealing. And overall, it needed another element to pull it together.
Hold up, judges. We're not lost in the sauce with this plate. Better luck next time, judges. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't get chopped. That's good.
That is good. All right, great. Awesome.